Michael Turner was 28 years old and had just inherited the real estate company his father had spent 4 decades building in New York. He sat at a boardroom table on the 40th floor of a glass tower in Manhattan, listening quietly as older executives questioned his ability to lead. Their voices were calm, but the message was sharp. They saw him as the spoiled son of a successful man, someone who would crumble under the pressure of decisions that mattered. Michael pretended to take notes while the weight of their words pressed on him more than he wanted to admit. When the meeting finally shifted, their property manager, Alan Crawford, a man with gray hair and a reputation for strict discipline, sat beside Michael and opened a thick folder. One of their commercial tenants in Brooklyn, a small shop owned by a seamstress named Emma Collins, had not paid rent for 4 months. The amount was significant, especially considering that a cosmetics franchise was already offering to rent the space for 30% more. The executives waited for Michael's decision as if this moment would define his future. He asked the total owed, listened to Alan's stern recommendation, and agreed to deliver the eviction notice personally. His father used to say that a businessman needed to look people in the eye. Michael wanted to prove he was capable of running the company with firmness. He drove across the Brooklyn Bridge toward the neighborhood where the small boutique stood. Instead of a busy commercial district, he found a quiet street lined with old houses and local stores that seemed to belong to another era. Emma's boutique had a modest window displaying handmade dresses, ribbons, and lace. He hesitated for a moment before entering. The soft ring of a small golden bell welcomed him into a space filled with the rhythm of sewing machines and the scent of new fabric and lavender. It was not just a shop. It felt like someone's life work. Emma looked up from the wedding dress she was adjusting. She was in her 30s with simple clothes and the tired beauty of someone who worked hard every day. Michael introduced himself and delivered the notice. Her hands trembled as she read it. Without anger or excuses, she opened a drawer and pulled out a stack of receipts, all marked with bank stamps and dates matching every month she supposedly failed to pay. She explained that she had been in that shop for 15 years, that she had raised her daughter alone and built a business one stitch at a time. Her voice carried sadness, but also dignity. Michael left the boutique uneasy, the receipts in his pocket. Something did not add up. Back at the office, Alan dismissed the receipts casually, saying they could be fake and insisting the company's system showed no payments. But Michael could not shake the feeling that Emma was telling the truth. He asked for the company's bank records, determined to verify the facts. That night at home, Michael could not sleep. He remembered Emma's trembling hands, the care in her shop, the pride in her voice. He had delivered an eviction that could ruin someone's life. And for the first time since taking over the company, he questioned whether the business world he inherited had room for compassion as well as profit. The next morning, Michael arrived early and reviewed the bank statements line by line. At first, everything seemed normal, but then he noticed that on the dates Emma claimed she had made payments, identical amounts appeared transferred to a private account. He called the bank and confirmed what he feared. The account belonged to Alan. Shocked, Michael hired an independent accountant to audit the records. The results were worse than he imagined. Emma was not the only tenant affected. At least 3 other small business owners were being quietly siphoned by Alan through altered billing codes. Alan came into the office later that day wearing the same calm, professional smile. Michael confronted him with evidence. At first, Alan tried to dismiss everything, claiming the transfers were administrative adjustments. When pressed further, the polite mask fell and bitterness spilled out. He complained that after 15 years of service, he still earned far less than the company profited, and he believed he had the right to take what he felt he was owed. Michael was stunned, not only by the confession, but by the coldness in Alan's voice when he spoke of Emma and the others. They were just small tenants to him, people whose lives could be disrupted without consequence. Michael told Alan he would have to repay everything and resign immediately. Alan warned him instead, hinting that the company held documents from the past that implicated Michael's father in questionable dealings. If Michael pushed forward, Alan threatened to expose everything, destroying the company and the Turner family name. Michael felt the walls closing around him. He had found the truth, but confronting it meant risking everything. He went back to Brooklyn and told Emma the truth. She listened silently as he explained how her payments had been diverted and how he had delivered a notice based on a lie. She did not shout or insult him. She simply said the most painful thing he could hear. "You did not believe me." Michael apologized sincerely and promised to repay everything and correct the situation. Emma, she said she needed time and that trust, once damaged, was not easy to mend. Her quiet disappointment hit him harder than the threats from the boardroom. At home that night, Michael realized that doing the right thing would cost him not only money, but perhaps his position, his reputation, and the support of his own family. He knew one thing with clarity. He could not pretend the truth did not exist just to protect a legacy built on silence. The next morning, Alan struck first. Michael's cousin Richard, the company lawyer, was already waiting with a folder full of old irregularities from the company's past. They told Michael he could either step back and allow Alan to continue or face consequences that could destroy him. For the first time in his life, Michael was forced to choose between profit and integrity, between the world he grew up in and the world he wished could exist. Word spread within the company that Michael was risking everything for tenants who barely appeared on corporate spreadsheets. Family members who once smiled proudly at him now looked at him as a liability. When he refused to cooperate with the scheme, they voted to remove him from the leadership. Alan delivered the documents to investigators, and newspapers soon published headlines suggesting Michael was involved in suspicious transactions. His bank accounts were frozen, and lawyers warned him that criminal charges could follow. Without income, Michael rented a small apartment in Brooklyn. Gone were the penthouse views, the tailored suits, the private driver, and the comfortable lifestyle. His mattress was thin, the refrigerator almost empty, and every night he ate simple meals alone at a small table. It was a humbling lesson in what it meant to start from nothing. One evening, a knock on the door surprised him. Emma stood there holding a paper bag. She apologized for coming unannounced, but asked if she could come in. She brought homemade food and told Michael she had read the news. She believed he was innocent because she had seen someone change after facing the truth. He confessed he did not know what he was going to do. He wanted to clear his name, but he also refused to return to the company and become the kind of man who looked away when people were mistreated. Emma told him something he had never heard before. "You lost everything, not because of me, but because you did the right thing. And doing the right thing is never wasted." She invited him to visit her boutique the next morning and discuss something that could give both of them a chance to move forward. The next day, she offered him a job helping with administration, accounting, and customer management. Michael was shocked. He said he did not know how to sew or run a small handmade clothing business. Emma told him she did not need someone to sew. She needed someone who could help her grow honestly. Michael accepted, and on Monday morning, wearing jeans and a simple shirt, he walked into the boutique for his first day of work. The shop was small, with 3 employees: Mrs. Mitchell, the oldest seamstress, who handled intricate embroidery; Rachel, a young woman responsible for basic stitching; and Sophia, who did finishing and fittings. All greeted him with curiosity. His first task was to organize a chaotic pile of invoices and receipts. He spent the morning sorting papers while the sound of sewing machines filled the room with a steady rhythm that was almost comforting. During lunch, the team shared homemade meals and asked about Michael's old life. He told them honestly that wealth had not given him peace. For the first time in a long while, he felt he was part of something that mattered. Days became weeks. Michael helped organize costs, negotiate with suppliers, and improve customer flow. Emma showed him how clients valued not only the clothing, but the emotional connection behind each piece. One woman saved for months to buy a dress to wear at her granddaughter's graduation. Another needed alterations for a wedding dress that held family memories. Michael realized that business here was not about maximizing profit. It was about honoring people's lives. Emma's daughter Lily returned from college during a school break. She was sharp-minded, protective of her mother, and initially skeptical of Michael, but over time, she watched him arrive early, work long hours, carry boxes, assist the seamstresses without complaint, and speak with kindness to every customer. One evening, she told him that her father had also been charming once, but abandoned them when money changed him. She looked Michael straight in the eyes and told him that what mattered was not who someone was before they fell, but who they chose to become after losing everything. Michael went home that night thinking of her words. He realized that this tiny shop had become not just a job, but a school of humanity. It showed him what success looked like without crushing anyone to reach it. And for the first time, he wondered if losing everything had actually given him the chance to build a life that finally belonged to him.
Months passed, and the boutique began to grow. A large wedding order arrived, dresses for 15 bridesmaids and a bride. Emma worried they could not handle the workload, but Michael suggested forming a cooperative partnership with independent seamstresses in the neighborhood. They could work from home while earning shared profits. Emma agreed, and soon experienced seamstresses joined the project. For many, it was the first time they felt valued as skilled artisans, not just labor. The wedding was delivered perfectly, and the cooperative model worked so well that new orders kept coming. Meanwhile, Michael's legal situation worsened. Prosecutors built a case based on documents Alan had leaked. One afternoon, Michael's cousin Richard visited the boutique. He warned that charges could lead to prison unless Michael returned to the company, sided with Alan publicly, and helped maintain silence. Emma and Lily listened as Richard explained the offer. Both women told Michael that character was defined by standing firm, even when life pushed back. Emma reminded him that dignity, once reinforced by action, could not be taken away by circumstances. Michael chose not to return. He called Richard the next day and declined the deal. If prison was the cost of doing the right thing, he said, then he would face it. Weeks later, something unexpected happened. Investigators uncovered deeper corruption involving Alan. His actions caught federal attention, and soon he was arrested. The documents that incriminated Michael were proven manipulated. Suddenly, Michael's name was cleared. When the news appeared in the paper, customers flooded the boutique. Women from across the city came not just to buy dresses, but to support people who represented honesty in a world that often rewarded corruption. One evening, Emma's lawyer arrived at the boutique and announced that Michael's family wanted him back. Their company was collapsing under investigation, and they needed him to rebuild credibility. Michael stood in the workshop, surrounded by dress forms, fabric rolls, the smell of thread and coffee, and the quiet hum of sewing. He looked at Emma and Lily, at the lives being built stitch by stitch, and he knew he could not return to the life he once had. He told the lawyer to thank his family, but declined. He had already found his place. That night, after closing the shop, Michael stayed behind. He held the key Emma had given him on his first day, a simple brass key that symbolized trust. He took a deep breath, knelt on the wooden floor, and offered Emma a ring he had crafted from the old metal sign he found in the storage room, decorated with a small pearl button. He told her he did not know if he deserved a permanent place in the life she had built, but knew he wanted to walk beside her, not ahead or behind. Emma smiled softly and told him good stories, like good clothing, were sewn slowly and with care. She accepted not only the ring, but the life they would continue creating together. Over time, the boutique became known far beyond Brooklyn, not as the richest business, but as one that valued people first. Clients said that dresses from Emma's shop carried something special: dignity, compassion, and stories woven into every stitch. And in that small corner of New York, Michael Turner, once the heir of a corporate empire, discovered that true wealth had nothing to do with bank accounts. It was found in honest work, in choosing the right path even when it cost everything, and in the love of people who believed in second chances.